All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Digital Marketing Agency Builders podcast. Today with me, I have on Bryan Fikes. Bryan was the managing partner and founder of ZEnergy. He's been a driven professional since he was 12 years old and ran his first entrepreneurial endeavor, which happens to be a mistletoe stand. Very cool, Bryan. He has been a digital consultant to clients such as Clear Channel, CBS, NBC Digital, and Guy Fieri of the Food Network. Bryan also started his first e-commerce business, Tactical Dad, which was even highlighted on Stephen Colbert's show as a 3-minute skit. Bryan is inspired by all things Zen and is a lover of everything bonsai. After selling his partnership in ZEnergy and successfully selling Tactical Dad in 2020, Bryan spent 2 years working on his golf game while building a platform and process to scale a new agency. Bonsai Marketing had its soft launch last year in 2021 and officially hung its open shingle in January 2022. Bonsai Marketing is now live and in charge, and I am very proud to disclose that Bryan and Bonsai Marketing are members of my Done For You agency program. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. Let's rock and roll, man. Talk everything digital.
All right, we'll dive right into the questions here. So let's start a little bit about your journey, just to get so people can be a little bit more introduced to you. How did you come to launch your agency, and what were you doing before you started?
So I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. Like you said, my first business endeavor, while it was successful for a very short time, I had a mistletoe stand business that my grandmother taught me how to tie the red ribbon, and the cute little face sitting in front of Safeway. I learned a valuable lesson because I taught a friend very next year, because I made like $5,000 in like 4 weeks. I was like a 12-year-old. That's like
with the mistletoes.
With the mistletoes.
That's impressive.
So I taught my friend how to tie the little red ribbon. Sure enough, this is like the very next year, he opens up a competing mistletoe stand across the street. So I got my first business taken away from me by a competitor at 13 years old. So
oh my God, what a great life lesson.
It was crazy.
Like, that's really reflective of like being an adult and having an adult business.
100%. I mean, it's played, that's come back several times in the agency world, where you hire somebody, you train them up, and then next thing you know, they think that they know everything, and they go hang a shingle across the street. They become one of your competitors. I tell everyone I'm the Svengali of local internet marketing here. I think like 40 something previous employees have all started agencies, and when they do it the right way and they come and tell me, and then like I support the heck out of them. I'm like, of course, go do it. It's the ones that try to steal the stuff. And so that kind of led me to Bonsai. I had ZEnergy. We had a bunch of clients. We had great team members, built it up to like 38 employees, had a huge sales team. We were working direct with Google on a Google 360 Maps initiative. I mean, I thought I'd hit it big time. I was ready for the jet and all that stuff. And then reality hit when I looked myself in the mirror, and my wife at the time, my wife, said, "Hey, you got to look at how much hours you're spending at all these different things, because it's not bearing the fruit that you think." And the employees were draining me, the clients were draining me, and so in 2017, I decided to sell my partnership, because it just, the way it was ran and the mechanics of it just didn't fit the way that I wanted it to be long term. So yeah. I spent the last couple of years kind of refining all the systems. I'll never have another full-time employee. I'm going to work with contractors. At most, I may have one assistant that I pay very, very well to kind of be my right arm. But other than that, it was all about exploring the distributed labor force. And so hence me watching you for the last 2 years, I knew your program had pieces that could help me. And we'll talk about that more later. So
yeah. So your goal in getting out of ZEnergy was really reclaiming your time and the lifestyle that you wanted to live, while at the same time having a successful business. So just restructuring that whole thing for you.
Yeah, it just, I needed clarity. I had started doing some ad arbitrage that became really, that grew really fast, that afforded me the ability to only work a couple hours a week. I needed a mental break. I had been at it since 2003. I had been running the treadmill, from 2007 to 2010. I think I slept 2 hours. It's like in the beginning, I worked 13, 14, 15-hour days. And so to be able to take that back and work very minimal while being able to be successful was key. I didn't like the product that was being delivered. And so I needed to retool and take some time off. So
it's funny. I think a lot of people, when they start their business, like they do it because they want like the freedom from the 9 to 5, but then it's a slippery slope into a whole, I just created not only a 9 to 5, but like a
A
9 to 9 for myself.
monster.
Yeah. Yeah. You end up creating like this, job on steroids for yourself. And you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the freedom that I was after. Right. And so when you're building your agency, it's like having that in mind and making sure the right people are in place so that you can still enjoy your life while experiencing that growth and not just creating another job for yourself. So it's a really good lesson for people out there that are growing. So the name of your agency right now is
Bonsai Marketing.
Bonsai Marketing. And if you're listening on the podcast, driving in your car, everything, that's great. But I highly recommend that you hop over to our YouTube channel because all these podcasts are recorded and upload visually. And if you are watching,
right here.
yeah, if you're watching, you would definitely see Bryan's wearing a super sick Bonsai Marketing hat, which I'm jealous. I want to still be viral one. And his background is incredible. Bryan, where are you at?
I'm in my backyard. I practice bonsai. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is my last name is Fikes. And so in 2002, I created the brand, my self brand, Fikes Shui. So it's just a play on feng shui.
Yeah.
So I'd send like little building tiles of like, the ancient art of marketing, learned by Feng Shui or taught by Feng Shui and powered by Feng Shui. And so ZEnergy obviously, was Zen and energy, because I used to be super high energy. Right now I'm like a 5, or I was like a 9 before. So it all kind of blends when you get to meet me and know my personality. It's the way I sell. It's the way I, handle the customer. It's just kind of my own spin on, Zen.
I love it. It's a sick backdrop, something I would totally meditate in if I had that at my place. So very, very cool. So you launched your agency, Bonsai Marketing, this past year, late last year.
Yeah, I did a soft launch. Again, sold the e-commerce store. While I was selling the e-commerce store, we had a very unfortunate event at the end of 2017. We actually had, if you remember the fires, we lost like 7,000 homes. Yeah. So it was very serendipitous. I had just sold my partnership. I had time to just dedicate to something else, and then that happened. And so I ended up helping, a ton of friends with their business, with their personal. I actually raised money. I had people just throwing money at me saying, I know the people that are in need. The average Joe that didn't need help before, now needs help. I mean, it was devastating here locally. It was the appropriate time for me to just kind of rethink the way I was going to roll out an agency long term. I was telling everyone that I wasn't going to get back into it, and in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, if I do it, I'm going to do it right. And so, to the end of 2019, I had lost the ad arbitrage stuff that I was doing. Google and I kind of got in a tussle, and as you may know, Google wins every time. So.
Oh yeah.
A little bit more money. So I had to just kind of, again, it allowed me to flatten everything out. And like I'm getting a lot of feedback from people, asking about this and that. And I'll tell you, Tyler, you just hit on the greatest point. Setting up the building blocks in the beginning, taking your time, breathing, concentrating on the process, your protocol. You're never going to have as much time as you have right now. And so you go get 10 clients, next thing you know, you're right in the fire, and you're just going to have bullets thrown at you, and you're not going to be able to, necessarily handle the setting up of your base as well. And so Bonsai Marketing was born with that philosophy of, okay, I've been at this for 20 something years. If I was going to redo this, what are all the pieces that I would, put together? And so there was about 10% of that I knew in funnel creation and in the tech stack, networking, that I knew I was missing. So that's why I started paying attention to the information you're putting out. And that's why I jumped on board with the Elite. It was that final little piece that kind of helped me, for one, it helped me commit. You throw that much money at it, you're like, okay, I better sit the heck down and get this done, because I just made a huge investment. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So you joined the Done For Agency program what month?
I think it was August of last year.
August of last year.
Yeah, and I had soft launch. So I had 5 local clients. One of the models that I was toying with was acting like a CMO. So I'd come in like an interim CMO. So they would just pay me, $5,000, $7,500 to be their acting chief marketing officer while I fixed all their issues for like a year. And then I would train up, marketing representatives or marketing directors and give them the, kind of the playbook. I was happy doing that. It's just, again, I kind of wanted a diverse portfolio of, e-commerce clients over here, my local clients that I super serve, and then, all the other industries that I've become, highly efficient in, like HVAC and plumbing and law and all that stuff. So
I love that outsourced CMO model. I think it's something that a lot of agencies are sleeping on, and something that can really be utilized, in a lot of capacities. Like they're looking for a marketing agency, but a lot of businesses are also looking for that extra touch of like a CMO, but a CMO with the capacity of a full service agency and experts in copy and graphics and ads and everything. Hiring one CMO for your business can cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in their salary.
350,
They just have,
400,000. Yeah.
right. But they only have their capacity, right? Like they're not going to be an amazing copywriter and paid ads person, right? But if you hire an outsourced CMO from a digital marketing agency like yourself, then you're also getting access to so many highly skilled individuals, which is just like the crux of the value that comes with a full service marketing agency that does it right, essentially. But
and that's what made the pitch super easy. It was like, hey, you could spend 30 grand and get this, and then you're gonna have to give up equity, or you're gonna have to give up some sort of rev share, or you can hire me at a fraction of the cost. Now I'm not gonna work for you 40 hours. So I would, the easiest way I would do is I'd create blocks of time. So it was like, for X, you're going to get me for 10 hours, for Y, you're going to get 15. And I would never give full time to anyone. I'd only give up to 20 hours. And that was one of my largest clients for a year was an insurance brokerage that was, they were buying businesses left and right. And they really needed to learn how to scale and do geolocal SEO and optimize their Google local business listing and so on. So.
Yeah. So you joined the Done For You agency program at the elite level at what time?
It was August
of 2021.
Yeah. And I took I was all gung ho, and then I got a couple of clients, and I saw myself going right into the same direction. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to bury myself to the point where I can't actually concentrate on this. Yeah. So it took me about 2 months to finally go, okay, I'm going to push the button. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So when you said, all right, I'm fully committing and pushing the button, let's go. When was that?
That was December. So I spent that 4 weeks really committing. And then I knew going into January, I was going to have that windfall that I did have. But it's because I spent so much time, all the building blocks, and I had my emails ready. I was ready to turn the light on and let everyone know I'm back. And so,
yeah. So you fully committed and pressed that button 4 months ago. And
Yep.
In that 4 months, what have you been able to do?
So I was at about 10,000, just kind of floating with all my other stuff that I was doing. When I hit the button in January, I think I had about a $315,000 or $330,000 a month. As of today, I went back and looked at all my numbers. My average annualized right now is about $62,000 a month. And so in the last 2.5 months, I've put almost an additional $500,000 on the books. So
that's insane. So
yeah.
In 4 months, really, you were able to go from 10K a month to 62K a month.
Yeah. And again, I did, you made a great post. People are listening to this, and that's not going to happen every single time. That's not going to, I mean, I've been at this for 18 years. I've got 20 some years. I've got 7,500 emails. I've got a reputation. And that's the biggest thing for me is I can go to a client and say, hey, just Google me. And they'll go like 100 pages deep, and they're seeing me in 2013 giving a speech to 3,000 auto repair professionals at SEMA. And, it's just like, I have, the cards were there for me to really push forward. It was your processes. Again, the biggest thing I could hang on, what I learned is I went from a 4-call, 5-call complicated closing process to the 2-call close. And I thought there's no way in hell someone's going to hire me at $3,000 and $5,000 a month by just having two calls. But you tightened up the process, and Jane was one of those just like driving into my head. She's like, "Stop trying to do a proposal." I kept asking for like, "You guys have proposal templates?" She's like, "Use the contract."
Yeah,
like, I will.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we do in the program is just cut out the whole proposal process for marketing agencies, because we just found that it just adds this extra step that doesn't need to be in there, and it never makes things smoother. It only creates more questions, and it only creates more distance between the agency and the sale. Whereas a contract is more direct, sign on the bottom line. There's a call to action involved, and it's like, we're serious about this, right? And if they do have more questions, they still have that ability to ask, but it doesn't it doesn't create a scenario where you're asking them to ask more questions. Essentially, you're asking them to sign on the dotted line so that we can move forward and hit their goal. So it just kind of cuts out that middle fluff piece that I think a lot of agencies get stuck on. So you said, a big part of the Done for Agency process that helped you was the shortening your sales call from a 5-6 complicated to a 2-call close. Was there anything else that helped you?
Yeah, just kind of the refresher. I had studied and looked into lead generation and funnel building, and again, the travel nurse ad arbitrage program that we built had a huge funnel, very sophisticated drip sequence. And so, I knew the technology, but you helped bridge the ability to create a more, I don't want to call it generic, but a more general funnel that works for so many other industries. Because the one we had was so specialized, like I couldn't even think about how to retool that for, a law firm, like what we just did. And then the other is the pre-vetted contractor list. I mean, that's just shortens up having to get on the phone with 5 people and give a project here. I've met some incredible contractors that I'm doing business with now. And I'll be happy to tout their names. I will tout.
No, because they're part of our pre-vetted contractors list. And if you want them and you're listening, then join the program and you'll get access to all of them. But
correct. Hold on. Let me.
We collect a group of really good, really highly skilled digital marketing contractors that do paid ads, graphic design, copywriting, email marketing, you name it.
Platform builds
across a wide range of different niches and everything. And that's one of the really great things, because a lot of digital agencies out there, they're out there scrambling, looking for quality fulfillment options, right? And when you come into the program, then you just have instant access to a strong network of people that we put our name behind, that we know do great work. So that's awesome. I'm really happy that you were able to, speed up the process there. Would you recommend the Done for Agency program to other people considering it?
100%. In fact, I got to figure out a way to get commission on the 5 people that are going to come on board. So we'll talk about that later.
For sure. Yeah. Just let us know their names.
I'm at the age where, I had a mentor and I was blessed. I came from a single mom, while I went to college and, under mass communication, I learned graphic and photography and all the basics. It was really kind of having a mentor to kind of help solve a lot of the business processes and building a good business model that was really helpful. And the nuances of how you've packaged your program, again, even though I took some time off, it just kind of it allowed me to catapult and kind of fill in some of the void that I had by being off for so long and only being concentrated on one, particular tactic online. So it was refreshing, to say the least.
That's awesome. So what's
your name? I would recommend other agencies and other people join your program.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What's your next monthly recurring revenue goal? Now that you're up to 62K so quickly, where are we heading?
So my previous agency, I was doubling and tripling every year. We grew really, really fast. So I know it's possible. I'm kind of at a point where it's the work-life balance. I literally in some of my contracts, if I know that the person's going to be needy, I will put a contingency in there that Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're not allowed to talk to me because those are my golf days. So I'm literally like very frank with I value my time. I value you, but I'm also the guy that's going to be up at 3:00 in the morning on a Saturday, working for 2 hours and sending you, graphic design and copy ideas for the next campaign we're launching. So, don't question my ability to produce, but allow me to have my work balance. And so to answer that question, I threw out $100,000, just kind of okay, that's where I want to be, have that for a couple of years. My wife has got a great job, got great healthcare. But I can see that, she's ready to kind of move to a more passive role and really kind of just enjoy the time with our son. We've got an 8-year-old boy that has very high energy, as you can imagine. I don't know where he got that from.
Who knows?
We want to spend the summers. She's got a teacher's schedule. She's the school counselor, and I want to travel with my laptop, like I've always told her. And so right now, I think if I got to $250,000 a month and then just socked away cash, did it aggressive for a couple of years, we'd hit our retirement goal, and I would be able to just kind of slowly, roll off into the sunset and just cherry picking opportunities. I'll always be involved at some level with marketing for sure. But I think for a couple year span where I'm throwing $250,000 in every month, I'd be okay with that.
Very nice. Do you think it's important to have these goals constantly? I talk to a lot of agencies where I'm like, we talk about where they're at and where they're looking to go. And it's shocking how many people don't have a number on where they're looking to go. They want to generally grow. And I have some pretty strong thoughts on that, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I did the vision board. I've had the, my goal written on a piece of paper in my wallet. I've done pull the mirror down right before a sales call and get all jacked up. I mean, I've done all of that. Heck, I'm a meditation dude, like I've got Zen.
Love it.
I do
so
believe.
Do you think that all play, like what level of importance do you think the mindset stuff that you just kind of rattled off, what level of importance do you think that has in being successful?
I think that everyone's going to do it a little bit different. I have like it feels like a running Rolodex just in my head. And so, every now and then it'll stop on the card and say, what am I trying to do? How much am I trying to make? What's my goal? And then I'll move on to like, okay, client A, here's what client A needs. And it's this Rolodex and it just keeps rolling. And so I had to teach myself how to train it. So it's not all, it's not too much. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they get to a point where they feel like, they come to me, they're like, I feel like not only do I have brain fog, I can't concentrate. I've got too many things. I got sleepless nights. I wake up. It's like, part of being an entrepreneur and having, for one, you have so many duties. I mean, you go from being the janitor to the CEO all in one fell swoop. You've got to stay focused. And I think what you're alluding to is, the part of that focus comes with, constantly setting where that bar is going to be, and did I hit that bar? Again, my mentor, instead of looking at everything like how much I'm going to make an hour, like a 40-hour a week work person does, that's their mentality. He's like, I want to know how much I'm making a minute. So he takes everything that he does and he boils it down to exactly how much he's making a minute. He takes his calendar. He showed me, this is, 2007. He had, red meant it's revenue generating. It's a meeting that's going to turn into income. Black was like everything he had to do admin that was running down, signing papers, doing this. And then he had the blue stuff was stuff that deterred, it took him away from, both of those activities. And he said, if this blue ever got too much in his calendar, he knew to back off and start, refocusing. So it is all about time management and understanding, what you're trying to get to in order to get there. So,
yeah, I think I'm somewhere in between like chaos and where you just talked about where you're like, going hour by hour. Like I'm definitely not a minute by minute person. If I did like a value by minute, honestly, I would just go insane. And like I would be stressing about my rate decreasing or increasing by the minute every day. Like I'd be doing way too many calculations. So like for me, that would never work. But I do, ever since 2015, I keep a running vision board, but not, and I guess, a lot of people say it has to be pictures, it has to be on a board and everything. Mine is literally in a notes. It's in the notes app in my phone, and I update it, pretty much weekly.
Yep.
I read it every single night before bed, go through each line item and see it in my head and feel that. And then I start my morning off every morning with a meditation where I'm visualizing what I want, how that's going to feel when I achieve it, and just silencing out all the noise, because it's really easy to wake up and just dive into chaos, Slack messages, emails, everything. And like, I set aside that time to just, be in the moment, the future moment really that I want to be in. Yep. Because otherwise I'll never really be thinking about it. I'll never really carve that time out. And that for me personally has really enabled me to achieve all those things. And I think back and I'm like, I really believe I wouldn't have achieved those things if I didn't decide that I wanted to achieve them previously when I hadn't had achieved them yet. Right. Like if I just generally said, I want to grow, I want to be bigger and better. Like if
everyone wants to grow, everyone wants to get better. But
right. Like when am I there? When do I get to celebrate? When do I get to mark something off? When do I so for me, like setting those goals, visualizing them, feeling them, and then realizing them, and then feeling excited about realizing them is all a part, like, an integral part of my own, personal growth process.
Yeah, I will tell you here, just so you know, see the the color codes.
Yeah, look at all that.
When you first set it up, it's difficult, but once you get it going, it does, it becomes a habit. It's just like everything else. Um,
Yeah.
and again, just don't forget, you have always opportunity to brand.
Hey, I love that, guys. Another reason for you to check out our YouTube videos. He just showed a really cool phone case that's like a soft wood, which is totally on theme for Bonsai Marketing, and then it has his brand name at the bottom. Now I definitely want a semi-viral phone case.
Well,
Thanks.
my laptop is the same too. It's all wood. It's a cover. So, and I don't mind sharing. This is a company called Toast. No proceeds are going to me, but they do custom bamboo and custom wood veneer finishes on all kinds of products. So it's a really cool company. So
Very cool.
I'm tossing that one out there.
So, how many clients do you currently have?
15 e-commerce. I just signed a couple more local, so I'm up to 12 local, and I've got 30 that me and a guy named Andrew Shotland, another guy named Blumenthal, we all argue that we were the guys that created the term geo-local SEO. That's what I became kind of known for, was truly learning how to optimize Google My Business and all the other assets. So 2007, 2008, I had always wanted to automate a good portion of that process, just because I know how it works. And it's all about business directories and business citation sites. And there's a whole link mafia you got to pay. There's a couple different products that are out there. But part of my way to recoup my ad spend is I put them automatically into the system that kicks out a report and shows them how well they're doing on a scorecard based on a lot of the factors that I put it. That's part of what I spent a year building, was piecemealing a bunch of different software, putting into a system that then I can kind of automate. So I've got 30 clients that, I make anywhere from 100 to 300 bucks a month on recurring by putting them in the system, and then they self-select that they want to buy into the service. So, that was kind of obviously outside the program and what you're talking about building.
But that's fantastic. Like, if you giving them a scorecard so they can really see the health of everything, instead of just, relying on what you say, and they can go in and actively see that and then decide, okay, this is something that I want to improve, is always, a great way. One of the tactics that I love in terms of lead gen that has to do with that is providing a cold lead, a report that you've generated based on their, their SEO, or based on their online presence, their social media, or something, or a report that aggregates all of it. And there's a few tools out there that will do that. And you can send that over to the lead and say, hey, we think we could really help you here. Here's a report that we ran on your business that kind of shows how you're ranking or whatever. And then it just exposes to them, where they rank in terms of their competitors and their online presence. And it really just shows them, the flaw, so that you're not just coming at them and saying, hey, we want to sell you something. It's like, hey, here we took a look at your business. These are some things that we identified, and they can kind of see it in plain view and then decide upon themselves that it's something that they want to take care of.
Yeah. And that, to me personally, that was always a life goal. We actually started to try to build a whole CRM system, back in like 2012, spent a ton of money, and our chief technology officer at the time, we took tons of his hours to try to build it. We never got to the end. Literally we were at it for 2 years. So it was one of the big promises to myself that I was going to finish this thing in 2019 and 2020. So,
yeah. So as you've grown, what are some things that, I guess, systems and processes that need to get better as you grow, versus like having your first client versus having, several clients and you're starting to scale. So what are some things that have to change as you grow as an agency?
I am struggling with, coming to you and your team and saying, okay, I think I'm ready for the closer and the virtual sales person, just because, frankly, I'm good.
Good on sales calls.
I know what I'm doing. It's like, it's so hard to let that go. So I'm like, okay, do I just want to have part of my division of my company where I put a bunch of clients in there, try to make sure that they get served in a manner and I never touch them? Or do I want to keep the pace that I'm at? Because right now I'm averaging $2,400 a client, to get that 62. So it's not going to take me much to get to where I'm at, and right now my pace of play, the way I can, I just use a golf term. That's terrible. My ability to handle the clients that I have and still have my work-life balance. I'm working a few hours in the morning and, checking emails throughout the day. So I guess I'm struggling with, really like, okay, am I going to go into fifth gear and, really ramp this thing up? So to fully answer that question, I don't know yet, Tyler. So
The thing I think you do know, and you just hit on a really good point. As you grow, you have to start deciding, do I want to let go of certain processes and different things in my agency to hand those off to different team members in my agency? And almost surely, and this happens whether you bring in like a highly skilled team member or not, almost surely, if you're doing a process within your own business and it's your business, you are going to be doing that process better than that person that they bring in or that you bring in, it does immediately. Now, it will not always be that way, but when you hand over a process, in my experience, to someone else and you teach them how to do it, like day 1 to, day 30, like you're going to see a degrading performance because of course you did better. Like it's your business. You've been doing this for years, right? But after a while, they get the hang of it, and assuming that they're, a great fit for that role, now they're going to get back up to the level where you are at, and you have now won that time back, right? And so I think the challenge is people don't want to experience that dip, right? Especially when you're doing it well. So bringing in a closer, even a skilled closer, they still have to learn your offer. They have to learn, your business. They have to learn, what you're selling and how you're selling it, right? So there's still a learning curve, even to like an experienced team member. And if you're killing it, then you're going to experience that dip before you experience that rise after. And so people tend to, myself included, have a hard time saying, oh, I'm doing well with this, but I do want my time. Is it worth that dip in training to get that other person up and running, or should I just keep doing this because I'm getting a great result? I think that's the question we all face as we grow.
Yeah, and I feel on, what I'm trying to decide is how much money to sock away again to build my reserve, and then know that I'll have time, for the 2-month or 3-month drag to teach that person and, really kind of hone them in on. It's important that they really breathe my culture. I mean, it's when I go to ask a client, what's the biggest difference between me and the other agency they wanted to hire? And it's their like the energy and the way you're funny and you're silly, but yet you know what the hell you're talking about. It's like, I need a salesperson to replicate that,
right? And that's something that you have to train into your salesperson, right? Like you have to surround them in your culture and your energy and have that reflect out of them. And, it's the jackpot when you find, a team member that embodies the same level of energy. But most oftentimes you don't hit the jackpot. It's going to be, their own style and energy. And so they're going to be able to get to yours and adapt to yours because, that's what they do. But ultimately, like, it's something that you have to train. It's, whereas you could take the next call the next day and boom. So, but that, whether it's a sales closer, whether it's a, account manager or anything in between, like there's always that training and onboarding process where, you have to go through that. The good thing about, the Done for Agency program is in terms of fulfillment, like we have rockstar fulfillment people, right? You have closers available that, have that experience, but, they're also still going to be learning from you, from, your energy, your culture, and being embraced and, being surrounded in that. It takes you, it removes the recruitment and painful interview process, but you're going to be, still embodying them in your culture and everything and crafting them into that awesome fit. So you're just not ready to take that leap just yet. You're still on those calls.
That plus, again, one of the mistakes I made when at my last agency was, I mean, we got to a few million. And, we were so heavy in terms of labor cost that it just didn't end up on the bottom. And so I for one, I'll never make that mistake again. So part of it's like, do I really want to let up that 15% and that 7% residual? Because I'm like, yeah, that's $7-8 grand right now.
Yeah.
Like okay, yeah. That's $7-8 grand I can put into savings and invest. And, a year from now, I've got, a multiple that then I can, I'm trying to hit a certain number where I can say, okay, I've got my reserves back. I can afford that extra percentage out of my margin because right now I'm really loving my margin. So it's
no, the margins are awesome. And like, that's also another trade-off of growing your team and expanding is the more you grow your team, the more, your labor costs are going to be. And so I remember, oh my God, I remember when I was a freelancer, like I called myself an agency, but I was totally a one-man band with an LLC at the time. And the the profit margins are insane at that level. I mean, you're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars as a one-man band typically, but the percentage of the money that is coming in is mostly all yours, which is just so fantastic. And then as you grow a real agency, you experience overhead costs that you didn't have as a freelancer. And so the further down the path you get of established agency, the more that changes. But essentially, it's that trade-off of growing and building your team and, you know, gaining your time. To me, and where I'm at, like, we're all on different journeys, but to me and where I'm at personally is my time is so valuable. Like, I really value my time and being able to spend it on the things that I want to spend. So I'm willing to trade more of the profit margin for my time and everything. And I think you're similar in the sense that, like, your Tuesdays and Thursdays, like you said earlier, golf days, don't call me, don't text me. So it sounds like you protect that too, but you're also still trying to strike that balance where you really like that profit margin.
I do. Yeah. And so again, it's, to me right now, I'm in growth mode. I am reinvesting, you know, in additional tech stack. I'm experimenting. You know, I know you asked a question, you know, some of the software that I couldn't live without. I found a way in the last 2 months to, again, recoup additional spend based off of some copywriting software, where now I'm an affiliate, and I'm literally using it as a lead generation tool on all the leads I'm getting. Cause I'm getting, you know, lawyers and blog and ecom people who are trying to write content. So I actually turned it into, you know, a lead generation system, while I'm also making, you know, a percentage off the software they're buying. So that was, you know, just, I'm kind of just, I know that there's still a little bit more I can layer in and get to the point where, like, okay, fine, I'll give up that 10% and I'll have the, you know, the time and energy to put into another salesperson. I just, right now, I still have some PTSD from my previous experience, you know, dealing with salespeople. You know, I got up to like 10 salespeople, and, you know, what really hit me was, we did a contest one year, and because you know, one of the guys was really like cocky. He's like, oh, I could outpace you. And I'm like, really? Can you? So we had a contest. I did $1.5 million myself. My 8 people in my sales team did 1.2. So it was like, I can't let it go.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. It's definitely like, it's a huge trade-off. You know, I have learned, you know, over the course of hiring so many sales members that, you know, you never really know where they're going to be at until they get on the phones. And I've seen some incredible all-stars that are just like rocket launch from day one. And I've seen some that really struggle, and then you gotta move forward and replace and train up. What's some big obstacles that you experienced growing your business that you didn't necessarily expect to experience?
Well, this go around, I would say that, again, maybe the balance of, during COVID, we had my wife and my son in the household. And so here I am trying to grow the business. And, you know, there were 2 months where, you know, my wife was really adamant about not going out and being everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it just, frankly, it made it really hard to concentrate, because I've got this 8-year-old spinning around the house. My wife's having to have, you know, conference call meetings, and, you know, we're in a nice little small community, and it's like, just, it's, well, we've got lush gardens and everything everywhere. It's like everyone felt on top of each other. And so the one struggle was just what everyone else was dealing with was, there were just too many of us in the household. So once that was solved, I would say the next struggle was, personally, just putting down the hammer. Like I said, you know, while I signed up in August, it still took me 3 months to go, okay, screw it, let's go, let's put the freaking hammer down. So, and when I put the hammer down, it's like, I felt it. I feel it. I get this tingle in the back of my neck when I know things are right. So that's just my intuition. And so when it hit right after November, I think, God, one of your team members checked in on me or something. It might've been Danielle or one of them. It was just kind of like, oh, you're right, I made that investment like 3 months ago. I should really go recoup this.
I gotta go do that now. Yeah. And that's part of the great thing about the program is like, if you're gonna do this, like, do it. You know what I mean? And you know, the coaches are there to try and kick you in the ass in the right times. But you know, it helps drive you forward. What's something that you learned along the way in growing your business that you think can help others?
I used to get asked this question a lot on forums and stuff. I will tell you right now, when you're ready to play the entrepreneurial game, fail miserably, fail every day. when you fail, take the time to really dissect what it was that caused that failure. Because there's no perfect days. You know, for every time you've got 2 times you're going up, there's 2 times you're going to go down. Sometimes there's 3. So you just got to dig yourself out and get your ass up and move forward. You do have to have thick skin. I mean, if this was easy, everybody'd be doing it. You know, all the old cliche sayings that are out there. You know, there's going to be times where clients cuss at you and tell you you're a fucking fraud. Excuse my language, a fraud. You know, you're like, what are you talking about? I've got 18 years experience. It's just because they just don't get it. They didn't mesh with the personality. And so my biggest lesson that I've learned is I hire slow, I fire fast, and I choose who I want to work with in all capacities as it relates to both clients, VAs, contractors. You know, if there's no immediate fit, if I get that little sense, I'm not going to try to push through it. I'm like, screw it. I'll go to the next one.
And get a better fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, because I feel like you're a very driven person from my experience with you when you decide that you want to be, right? Yep. Like after the 3 months, you said, all right, it's happening.
Did my mom just call you or something?
Well, it's that, like, I'm getting this from my experience with you. So, you know, and one thing that I struggle with, like as a coach in the agency space, is seeing people across the whole spectrum, right? I've always been a very self-driven person. When I want to make it happen, I'll make it happen. And if the right resources are in front of me, like I'm going to take those resources and I'm going to make it happen. Yep. Right. But I've also seen other people that everybody wants the success. Everybody wants to, you know, be the next millionaire and, you know, grow their business and get big. I mean, at least people that are in business, they typically want to grow like that. But not everyone is willing to, you know, do what you did 3 months into the program and say, I'm doing this now. And I'm going to make it happen and get up every day and make my business happen. Right. So it's just like, do you think that's something that's genetic? Do you think it's something that can be taught? Do you think it's something that people can change their minds on? You know, I've always been that person that you know, I'm going to make this happen, but you know, I see others, especially like, and this is no shade to Gen Z. I'm a millennial, and the generation behind me, Gen Z, I feel like it's a little bit, I mean, I feel like every generation says that disclaimer. Like we all say it about the generation after us, but I feel like there's a lot of like, I want to hit it big and I don't want to do anything at all to get there. Right. And like, that's never going to happen to anyone. Like
everyone's seeing the little 8-second memes where there's a stack of cash. It's like, yeah, fake, dude. That's not, that dude just put $100 bill on one part of it and all the rest is Monopoly money underneath. God damn it. Like,
yeah. And like, well, but even beyond that, like if you're given the resources, the funnel, the training, the coaches, you know, the motivation, like that, everything, like here is your path to success. Take the step and put your step in those footprints and you'll be great. And even then there's people, you know, that are just like, you know, I think I'd rather not. And so do you think that's something that's genetic, or do you think that's something that is just like a personal choice that people can make and be driven or not?
You know, I early in my life, I took like every sales training course and the psychology of sales. And, you know, I subscribed to, and I forgot what the term is, but it's basically where you color code. You've got red, green, blue, and I think yellow. I'm a green. That's like the CEO driven, you know, self-producer. Red's like the super sales guy, gal that just, you know, breathes and lives kind of a person. And then I remember the blues. The blues were the ones that I was always intrigued with. And if you ever look at an office space, they're the ones that put the candy dish right at the edge of the desk. And they're always the ones trying to invite people in, but they're more about having these soft conversations and they want reaffirmation from somebody else. Those are the people that I never could turn them into good salespeople because they want to feel comfortable. And I don't want to like it to like a DMV mentality. Like they just like their job. They were there just to take the block, pick it up and set it down.
Yeah.
But that personality type, I don't think unless they have external motivation or triggers, they're just going to be the person that wants to pick up the cube, set it up and put it down. And then they're happy that they did that one action. They're not the type that said, hey, because I got it so easy from point A to point B, what if I did it like this? And maybe I can go from point A to point D really fast. You know, look for that shortcut, look for the, you know, the opportunity to grow. That I think it's psychologically, I think there's just 4 different types of mentalities when it comes to sales and, you know, being an entrepreneur. I think that there's, you know, you just got those different aspects. And so one of those 4 aspects genetically just isn't necessarily prone to be the go-getter, and that's okay. Actually, I shouldn't say this, but my brother-in-law is very much the very soft demeanor. He's a coder, but he's got an agency. He's got a business, but he finds customers like him. And so it's like you're sitting with two very soft people. His client's the soft person too. I wouldn't do very well with that person. I would scare the crap out of, a person like that. And so I would be too overwhelming and too overpowering and overbearing, frankly. And I know that. And so I can't work with those kind of people. He can't. So I guess to really answer your question, it's do know your personality type. And if you're the type that doesn't, you're not self-driven, you're not, that kind of person, that's okay. There's other ways to sell. So
totally. So I love that answer. It's know your personality type, know how you interact with others, how you succeed, and then use that in order to succeed instead of trying to be somebody that you're not. One of the things I tell people all the time on our coaching calls is like, if you're getting on the call and you're trying to close somebody, here's a script. Like we have a 2-call close script in the program, but A, do not read it word for word because you'll sound like a robot. And B, don't try and sound like somebody you're not. Yeah. Like, don't try and get on that phone and sound like a closer. Like, don't, just be yourself, sound in your normal tone, realize it's another person on the other end of the phone that needs your help, and communicate effectively like you would if somebody were standing in front of you and you were talking about their business, right? But I feel like a lot of people, they get on that call and they get so nervous and they try to be this persona of a closer that they're not, and that's not going to close for them. What's going to close for them is them naturally communicating and affecting in their personal style. So it totally hits on what you were just saying. Last question, Bryan. Ooh. If you could go back in time, and change something about what you did to get where you are that could help yourself, what would you change?
Oh, God, that's a good one. Okay. I got two answers to this. One answer is, I spent 3 years. I didn't spend a dime. I was living off a couple $100 a month. I was fortunate. My wife was going to get her master's program. We lived on a $1 couch. We drove a $2 car. And I just remember, I think it was like my third year into it. I was a sole proprietor at that time. I was just by myself. Like you, I called myself an agency, but it was just me, consulting. I made that first like 20 grand or whatever a month, something. And I went right in the dealership and I got a brand new car. And I was like, shit, I just put money into a depreciating asset. I was like, I was so good about not doing that for the first 2 years. And so I kind of succumbed to the whole, like, oh, let's get a bunch of toys and the boats and the whatever. I would tell myself to split up that percentage and be very wise. Because again, for every time you have a good month, there's 2 months, things are going to suck. And so,
don't buy the mansion and buy the boat after one good month.
Yeah, exactly. And just, slow play it. That's again, this time, going around, I lost $1 million before I was 30 years old. I made $1 million before I was 30 years old. And so this time going around at it, I'm being very mindful of how much is going into the reinvestment of the company, how much is going into ads, how much is going into, lifestyle, how much is going into savings, how much is going into crypto. Not that much right now, but
right.
But again,
there are also lots of other investments, long-term investments for sure.
Totally. But again, that would be the answer to that one. And then the other one would be, if I went back to my 28-year-old self, is I would tell myself to do it the way that I'm doing it now and not spend a bunch of time and resources hiring a bunch of people and spending, God, I spent so much money training people up and then having them fail on me and just not having the right systems. But we were happy because we had money coming in every month. It's just, I would have done it this way from day one, and I'd have been a lot happier, and I probably still would have had that old agency. And so I'm gonna do it this time the right way. Love it.
Bryan from Bonsai Marketing, thank you again. I had zero doubt in my mind that it was going to be a great conversation, and you proved me right.
As the garbage truck goes by.
Yeah.
For my grand finale.
Perfect background sound. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us.